Hello and welcome to Art Block, the show where we talk about art and how it's made. Today on the chopping block is the topic of negativity, and with that I decided I would need a little help with this. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my alter ego and embodiment of edginess, T. That's tear-ups to you, Missy. Greetings, my little lowlives. I'll be providing your so-called criticism as well as acting as the opposing side to this saccharine show. Yep, I've decided to bring you on so I can make some counterpoints to help argue why you shouldn't be so negative with yourself as a content creator. That does make sense from a logical standpoint. However, what I don't understand how this fits into the lore of your three-parter you started over a year ago and haven't touched since. It's called a lack of interest. Moving on. One of the biggest problems plaguing content creators, and almost everyone in general, is a sense of negativity that comes with being a person. We're often exposed to negativity when we're young, and no thanks to the educational system, it tends to be a feeling that is somewhat manifested in today's modern culture. Speaking from a creator's perspective, I found a lot of times where I am negative towards myself and my work due to varying factors such as skill level, how the final product turned out, and how it compares to others. Especially as someone whose future depends on my work being competent enough to make it in the industry, it can be very stressful to anyone who's a creator, whether they be a writer, illustrator, or whatever path they decide to choose. One of the bigger issues with the more competitive nature of the creative market is a fear of inadequacy that comes with being a creator. Especially speaking from a skill-based level, those who have gone through the training necessary to warrant their professional status will generally have a leg up in justifying their position as a professional artist, usually far more than someone who simply claims they are professional. What is considered professional work and what is considered amateur work is a bit of a blurred line, since you can't have a trained artist put out subpar work while having a self-taught artist put out gorgeous work, in my opinion. I suppose at that point we need to define what a professional is and what labels someone as a professional artist. Speaking in terms of art and overall quality, while a trained artist who has gone through school will probably know a lot more of their necessary information off the bat, that's not to say that a self-taught artist can't work to be as good or even better as someone who went through training. What defines a professional artist to me is someone who pushes themselves to improve and as a result is able to make a steady income off the skills they've acquired. However, we also need to keep in mind the amount of skill each person has. Despite each person growing at their own pace, one of the big things that has caused people issue is the level of skill in relation to one's age. Yes, we've heard it before, people way younger than you have accomplished so much more in so little time, and that is the unfortunate truth. Luckily, with the university being limited mostly to above 18-year-olds, some of the stuff that is taught there is limited to a somewhat level playing field. However, it is undeniable that there will always be someone younger than you who is also better than you. Comparison is somewhat the Achilles heel of creativity. On one hand, it's the point where we push ourselves to become better and try new things. However, at the same time, it can be a downfall to your self-esteem whenever you see someone else's work that is better than yours. Especially with the wonders of the internet, sometimes seeing someone else's work is just a few clicks away. I would recommend scrolling down through their previous work and looking at some of their earlier pieces. For all you know, this person has been uploading for years and has slowly gotten better over time, or this might be their second, third, or even fourth account, thus making it seem like they've been good from the ground up. While comparison is a bit of a double-edged sword, it is somewhat necessary in terms of the improvement of an artist. Unless an artist has a project or a desire to push themselves, sometimes it takes seeing other people making things that we're incapable of making to drive us to improvement. Either that or we're just obsessed with making redesigns of our main mascot and leaving her counterpart 2 iterations behind. You kidding? I've already got a full commission queue and I'm not going to pester Eli for another set of poses. Party pooper. Either way, improvement is a vital asset when it comes to making it in the industry regardless of what you're pursuing. Whether you're making films, acting in a play, or playing an instrument, there's always something to be improved upon regardless of how much you've practiced. This of course makes way for constructive criticism, something that is also incredibly important when it comes to not only improving your artwork, but also helps you mature as a content creator. Ah yes, constructive criticism. Despite some people's negative outlooks on constructive criticism, it is a very necessary thing to improving upon your artwork. Personally, I would recommend seeking out constructive criticism as much as humanly possible. As someone who wants to improve as much as she can, any feedback on how one's artistic quality can be better is something that artists and creators alike should be constantly on the lookout for. While art quality is subjective for the most part, there are a few objective factors such as anatomy, file size, light placement, etc. that can be commented and improved upon because they are core factors of art and how it's made. If you've ever attended an art class, there are a lot of exercises that will teach you the fundamentals such as how shading works, shape, construction, etc. While anyone can provide constructive criticism, it is somewhat based off of their own knowledge and experience as well. For example, I found that a lot of digital artists will end up making their artwork very small in size, thus making it difficult to use in works that require a higher definition, such as prints or videos. When it comes to taking criticism, you'll need to keep in mind that not every form of criticism is necessarily meant to be bad. While there will be many people trying to tear you down, there are a lot of cases where they're trying to provide you genuine feedback on how to improve. In the online environment, you do need to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt. After all, there is such a thing as internet trolls. Admittedly, whenever you get a form of negative criticism, it can be a little bit of a hit to your self-esteem, which in turn will cause you to be more negative towards yourself and your artwork. Unfortunately, negative reactions to one's content, or a lack thereof, can be devastating to a creator's self-esteem, especially if they are young or aren't as practiced as they want to be. Especially if someone's very self-conscious about their work, even a single comment can make them feel unmotivated, or they may even stop creating altogether. What's important to keep in mind is that your art has the value that you assign to it. What do you mean by that? Let me explain. If you're feeling pretty good about your artwork and you feel good about your improvement, then your artwork will ultimately be better as a result. However, if you're feeling pretty poorly about your work, then the quality may dip or you might not even finish it altogether. The important thing to remember is that, even if you're doubting yourself during your creative process, to persevere and finish what you are making regardless of what you think the others will say about your work. I usually like to look back upon my older work and see how far I've improved if I ever have any doubt. However, you do have to keep in mind that a certain level of self-criticism is necessary. Too much self-indulgence in your work can cause someone to be blind to the flaws in their own work. While too much self-criticism can cause you and your work to suffer, being too confident in your work can also be just as bad if you're not careful. Not everyone can paint the Mona Lisa no matter how much they think they can. Especially if you're not willing to accept the bad with the good, then you may be stuck in terms of improvement. You do make a pretty good point there, T. Like our alter egos, it is necessary to have a little bit of skepticism when it comes to making art and understanding what may be wrong with a particular piece. While you shouldn't beat yourself over the head with what might be wrong with what you've made, it should be a drive to improve yourself. Positivity and negativity aren't enemies. They don't clash together, but are instead two halves in a yin-yang relationship. So is it back to Tartarus for me or what? Nah, you can stick around. I could probably use a little extra edge in this pastel playground, or whatever you call it. Sweet, I'll go get my stuff, you do the outro. Alrighty then. That's it for this episode of Art Block. What are your thoughts on negativity when it comes to art? Drop them in the comments below. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, make sure to subscribe and share this video around. It supports me and is practically free. Also be sure to check me out on DeviantArt and Twitter where I post art and interact with you guys outside of the show. Want to help support me behind the scenes? Check me out on Patreon where you can get access to exclusive rewards and resources. Thank you all for watching, I'm Spirit, and I'll see you next time.